So you got your visa, right? You move to Ghana, or you're visiting. Let's say you move to Ghana. Let's say you relocated to Ghana, right? So now what? Where are you going to live? Like, for example, let's say that you have a friend or two, or you may have a relative, but let's say that you have a friend or two. Are you going to live with your friends? Is that part of your plans? Was that part of your research when you were doing your research when you were in the United States? So, are you going to continue living with your friends? Are you going to live with relatives? What is the setup, right? That is one thing that you should have included in your research, right? As for me, and I'm going to share, my personal. In my case, it's a bit different because I had already something planned. I had a place to stay temporarily. The apartment where we were staying, it was it was a bedroom, not contained. I over here, self-contained means that it's like, you have your own stuff, your own bedroom, your own restroom, and everything else, right? So I guess the opposite of that would be not contained. But anyways, and so that was it. We just basically had a room that we shared everything else with other folks. So in order for us to get an apartment, which is where we are right now, in order for us to get an apartment, basically, we called around friends and relatives and things like that, and we found an agent, right? And that's one thing that as we relocate to Ghana, we want to be careful with. We want to be meticulous about our research and who we get to help us in order to situate ourselves here in Ghana. So we were fortunate enough to get somebody who we trust, so to speak. And so that person, that they call them agents. I guess we call them in the States, I guess we call them agent, the real estate agent, right? Something similar is the same thing here. And so we saw several apartments and what's not until we decided on this one. But the key thing is, if you don't have anybody in Ghana that can actually guide you and help you through getting an apartment, you might have some difficulty. Okay. In that case, if you don't have anybody in Ghana, you visited Ghana before, you love it so much that you decided that you want to relocate. Now that you had your visa and you're in Ghana, now what? Right? What I would recommend, if you don't have a friend or a relative that you can actually depend on, I recommend to actually stay at a lodge, not too expensive lodge. Stay at a lodge for a couple weeks or so, while you learn yourself around, whether it's in Accra, whether it's in Kumasi, which a lot of Americans, there's a huge American community there. So in Kumasi, whether it's in the down at the Cape, whether it's in the Volta region, the Eastern region, Central, wherever it may be in Ghana, if you stay at the lodge and for a couple weeks or so, and get to know your neighborhood, get to know people, talk to people, so that you can get a feel as to how you can go about getting an apartment. If you don't have anybody, that's the best thing to do. Don't just get with somebody, an agent, and then have them take you here, there, and everywhere else. Because each time they show you a house, you will have to pay them for something, give them some fees. So that's what I recommend. If you have a friend that you can trust, if you have a relative you can depend on, then it's a little bit easier that way, because they would hopefully already know people, places, and things that they can take you around, show you around, which is in our case what happened. And we were able to get this wonderful, beautiful apartment. But just be mindful that, getting an apartment is really easy. I've heard people say, it's expensive in Accra. We live in Greater Accra. It's expensive, it's this, it's that. Personally, it is not expensive. When you think, as an American, when you think of New York, for those of you that like to compare oranges and apples and oranges, right? When you think of New York, when you think of DC, Northern Virginia, when you think of San Francisco, LA, when you think of San Diego, when you think of even Las Vegas, when you think of these places that are super, super, super expensive, right? Ghana is really not expensive. Besides, by now, having watched my previous videos, you should know, I don't believe in criticism. I don't believe in comparing apples and oranges. It's just not possible, right? So, when you think of Ghana, when you think of Accra, you cannot compare it to anywhere else. Ghana, Accra is really not expensive. It is only as expensive as you make it. And by that I mean this. You could live in an expensive city like New York and still make it. It depends where you go shopping, right? It depends where you work. It depends where you go and do business. All of these things will either make it easy for you or will make it difficult. Same thing in Ghana. The same thing here in Accra, right? If I want to go and live in the airport residence community, hey, I better have some good money. If I want to go to East Legon and live, I better have some good money. But why would I want to go to an expensive community, right? Spend whatever amount of money on rent and things like that, when I can get probably just as good or better apartment outside of the Accra area, right? Outside of the. Why would I, all the things just get to church road, the bus, go, do my little shopping, and that's another thing. As Americans, we are used to all of these comfortable things, right? So I would imagine that a lot of you Americans would want to go to the mall and shop, right? Well, why? Why go to the mall and shop? Why go to all of these places that for sure the things are going to be expensive? When you can go, say, talking about Accra, to the downtown Accra, to the big market there and shop. Just go down to the huge market down in Accra. It's one of the biggest we have in the country and in Western Africa. And do your bargaining there, or go to the Madina market if you're in the Greater Accra area. Or go to one of those markets, which is where I go and do my shopping. And I can buy for the entire week or for the entire month, and buy food, that is, and still make it. It is only as difficult, it is only as expensive, I think, as we make it by the choices that we make. That's all. But all of these comments, Accra is expensive, Accra is this, okay, well, if Accra is expensive, and if Accra is this and that and everything else, my recommendation is just stay in America, right? Just stay in that little town where you are and continue your living. Remember that as you relocate to Ghana, there's a lot of things that go into that. And one of those things I mentioned earlier is where you're going to live. Okay? Are you going to, you're going to live in a house, in an apartment, in a skyscraper, whatever your decision, remember that you should have the funds for that. And remember, another thing, we in the United States, when we go to rent an apartment, we basically have to come up with 1 month's rent, 1 month deposit. Some places may want 2 months deposit based on your credit, right? Well, in Accra, there isn't any credit check, all that stuff. There isn't. But what there is, and I think I like it this way better, is that you have to come up with your year's worth of rent. Okay? So regardless of where you are going to live and what apartment you got, you have to come up with at least 1 year worth of rent. Okay? So if you rent a place for 1,000 CDs, you know for sure that you are going to need 12,000 CDs in order to move in. If you rent a place for 1,500 CDs, 1,500 CDs, then you know for sure that you're going to have to come up with whatever 1,500 times 12 is. Okay? So, and I like that because of this simple reason. Once you pay your rent, you don't have to worry about it for a whole another year, as opposed to paying your rent every month and have to worry and think about paying it on time in the United States. Food, I kind of briefly touch on food, right? You talk about rent, but I kind of briefly also touch on food. Personally, I would not go to any mall or big store here in Ghana and shop. Just like in New York, when I was living in Richmond, I wouldn't go to Short Pump, for example. I wouldn't go to the Short Pump Mall, maybe a View Made, but I wouldn't go to the Short Pump Mall and buy anything, quite frankly, when I can especially go to Kroger's or Food Lion or Walmart, even Walmart, to buy and get the same thing, at a different lower price. So the same thing here, you just use your common sense. Why would I go to an expensive place and shop where I can get the same thing probably, or something similar to it, at a lower price? It's the same thing, right? We just have to apply our own common sense. And so I go to the Medina market and to the Accra open market, and that's where I buy my food. Simple. And I think it's cheap, right? I think I get bargains when I go. It's just it, that's just how the way it is. At least here in Ghana we can bargain with, the sellers. In the United States, you guys know, you go to wherever, and unless you go to Chinatown in New York, right? You go wherever, whatever store you go to, and the price is fixed. Price is price, and you pay that, and there isn't any talking down. Unless, like I said, you go to Chinatown in New York, and then you got to bargain. But we don't have Chinatowns like that all over in every city in the United States. So, that's my take. Make sure that you are careful who you get to help you get an apartment. Make sure that you have an open mindset as to where you are going to go and shop for food and clothes and everything else. And just be wise as to how you spend your money. Make sure that you do your research, even now that you're in Ghana, even after moving or visiting Ghana. Make sure that you do your due diligence, do your research, so that your money can last. Because if you're like me, that you like to travel and visit places and things like that, you want to make sure that your money lasts, right? All right. So thank you once again, guys. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Real Talk with me, Ponce Ferguson. Follow me on Facebook, Ponce Ferguson. And then also follow me on Instagram at kplessen. And also follow me on Twitter, P Ferguson, where the S is a 5.